The Forbidden Boundary. Senior xenoarchaeologist Talia Kresh hovered over the holographic display, her four-fingered hands moving with practiced precision as she rotated the ancient artifact's digital reconstruction. The stone tablet, recovered from the ruins of the Zentari civilization, was over 15,000 years old, predating even the earliest known interstellar civilizations. What made it remarkable wasn't its age, but what was etched into its surface, a crude but unmistakable map of the galaxy. "Run the comparison again," she instructed her AI assistant. The holographic display flickered, overlaying the ancient star map with current galactic cartography. The match was too perfect to be coincidental, down to the distinctive spiral arms and major stellar clusters. But what caught Talia's attention was the darkened region near the outer rim of one spiral arm, a section deliberately marked with warning symbols in the ancient Zentari language. "This region," she murmured, zooming in. "Cross-reference with contemporary restricted zones." The AI complied, and a new overlay appeared. Talia's bioluminescent skin patterns flashed with excitement, a physiological response her species couldn't suppress when making significant discoveries. The region marked with warnings on the 15,000-year-old map aligned perfectly with what was now designated as human territorial space. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Humans had only achieved interstellar travel 3 centuries ago. How could an ancient civilization have marked their territory as forbidden millennia before humans even left their home planet?" This wasn't the first anomalous artifact she'd discovered. Over the past 5 years, Talia had identified 13 distinct ancient civilizations, spanning different eras and regions of the galaxy, that all designated the same sector of space as forbidden, dangerous, or restricted. The symbols varied, but the message was clear: stay away. And now, that exact region was controlled by the newest members of the Galactic Council, humans. When Talia presented her findings to the university's Board of Xenoarchaeological Research, she expected interest, perhaps even funding for a more thorough investigation. Instead, she received a formal censure and strict instructions to abandon this particular research direction. The human territories are restricted by Galactic Council decree, Dean Vorex had stated, his compound eyes avoiding direct contact. "There are diplomatic sensitivities we must respect. But this predates human emergence by thousands of years," Talia had argued. "Something about that region of space has been feared by multiple civilizations throughout galactic history. Doesn't that concern you?" "What concerns me," Vorex had replied, "is that 3 research vessels that attempted unauthorized entry into human space in the last decade have never returned. The humans are protective of their territory. That should have been the end of it." Talia had built her career on being methodical and cautious. She wasn't a risk-taker by nature, but the mystery consumed her thoughts. Why would countless ancient civilizations mark the same region as forbidden? And why were humans, a relatively primitive species until recently, so adamant about keeping others out of their territory? 2 standard months after her censure, Talia made her decision. If the official channels wouldn't support her investigation, she would find another way. The first step was recruiting a team crazy enough to join her. "You want to do what?" Kraxdorn nearly choked on his stimulant beverage. The hulking Valerian engineer looked at Talia as if she had suggested they jump into a black hole for fun. They sat in a dimly lit corner of the Event Horizon, a bar frequented by spacers and fringe academics at the edge of University District. Not Talia's usual habitat, but perfect for conversations that shouldn't reach administrative ears. "I want to investigate the anomaly at the edge of human space," she repeated quietly, "and I need an engineer who can modify a research vessel to avoid standard detection." Krax's skin rippled with amusement. "You mean you want to sneak into the most heavily guarded restricted zone in the galaxy? The same zone where research ships mysteriously disappear?" He leaned back. "I'm listening." Talia explained her discoveries, the ancient warnings, the perfect alignment with human territory, and the Council's unexplained reluctance to investigate. "I've known you for 6 years, Talia. You've always been the cautious one. Crax studied her with all three of his eyes. This doesn't sound like you. Maybe it's time I took a risk, she replied. Something isn't right, Crax. Either respectable engineering journals for my unorthodox propulsion theories. I suppose academic suicide might as well be interesting. He grinned, showing rows of serrated teeth. Who else is on this suicide mission? I'm still recruiting. We need a xenobiologist, someone with military experience, and ideally a linguistics specialist who can help with real-time translation if we encounter humans. I might know someone for that last position, Crax said thoughtfully. Mela Sun. She's been studying human languages as a hobby, says they're fascinatingly illogical. She worked on the diplomatic team when humans first joined the council. Perfect. Can you contact her? Crax nodded. What about the others? I have a meeting tomorrow with Dr. Sen Tivar for the xenobiology position. As for military experience, Talia hesitated. I was thinking of approaching Jarvik. Crax's skin darkened. A Valerian expression of concern. The exile. Are you sure? Commander Jarvik had once been among the most decorated officers in the Galactic Defense Force until an incident at a remote outpost left him discharged and ostracized. The details were classified, but rumors suggested he had disobeyed direct orders to abandon a civilian settlement during a planetary catastrophe. He'd saved the civilians but lost several soldiers under his command. We need someone who knows how to handle unexpected situations, Talia said firmly. And someone who's willing to break rules for the right reasons. It's your funeral, Crax shrugged. Or rather, it's all of our funerals. When do we leave? 2 weeks, Talia replied. I secured a small research vessel through a private grant. Officially, we're conducting a survey of uncharted neutron stars in Sector 87. Crax laughed. Sector 87. There's nothing there but cosmic dust and regret. Exactly. No one will bother to check on us. The recruitment of Dr. Sen Tivar went more smoothly than expected. The Tyrellian xenobiologist had been ostracized by his peers for his controversial theories about cross-species genetic memory. The idea that certain evolutionary responses could be shared across entirely different evolutionary paths. Your discovery suggests I might be right, he said excitedly after Talia explained her findings. If multiple species across different eras all develop the same fear response to a specific region of space, there must be a common stimulus, something universally threatening. Jarvik was harder to convince. The former commander had retreated to a remote asteroid mining colony, working security for independent prospectors. It took Talia 3 days just to get a meeting with him. I don't do academic expeditions, the grizzled humanoid said flatly. His species, the Krell, were known for their durability and blunt manner. The cybernetic implant replacing his left eye whirred softly as it scanned her. And I especially don't do illegal ones. This isn't just academic curiosity, Talia insisted. Something about that region of space has frightened civilizations for thousands of years. Now humans control it, and no one knows why they're so protective of it. Maybe they just value their privacy, Jarvik countered. Do you really believe that? The former commander was silent for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. There was an incident before my departure from service. A patrol near the edge of what is now human space. We detected unusual energy readings, received a distress signal from an unregistered vessel. When we arrived, there was nothing there. No debris, no radiation signature, nothing. But our systems started malfunctioning, the crew reported. Nightmares. Waking hallucinations. He rubbed his artificial eye absently. The official report called it mass hysteria triggered by radiation exposure. I never believed that explanation. 2 days after we returned to base, humans appeared in that exact sector. Their first contact with our patrol ships. Within a month, the Galactic Council had recognized their territorial claim to the entire region. Talia's bioluminescence pulsed with excitement. You think there's a connection. I think there are no coincidences in space, Jarvik said grimly. When do we leave? The final member of their crew, Mila-san, proved to be an unexpected asset. The lithe, feathered linguist brought not only her expertise in human languages, but also a cache of classified council documents she had accidentally retained after her diplomatic service. These are the official boundaries of human space as recognized by the Council, she explained, displaying a holographic map for the crew assembled in the small briefing room of their vessel, now renamed Curiosity in a nod to human exploration history. But this, she overlaid another map, shows the actual extent of human activity based on long-range sensor data compiled over the last century. The difference was striking. The official territory was nearly twice the size of the area where human ships and communications were actually detected. What's in the empty zone? Jarvik asked, his artificial eye zooming in on the discrepancy. Unknown, Mila replied. No non-human vessel has returned with sensor data from that region. But ancient star charts suggest it contains approximately 47 star systems, including several potential habitable planets. As the newest member of the galactic community, humans were something of an enigma. They had appeared suddenly, already possessing faster-than-light technology that, while crude by Council standards, should have taken them centuries longer to develop based on their known technological trajectory. Their physiology was unremarkable. Standard carbon-based bipeds with limited sensory capabilities and relatively short lifespans. What made them unusual was their psychological profile. Extremely adaptable, intensely curious, and paradoxically both tribal and cooperative. They could shift from violent territoriality to selfless collaboration with bewildering speed. Our approach vector will take us through this asteroid field, Krax explained, highlighting their planned route. It should provide some sensor cover. I've modified our engine signature to appear as a small mining operation. Once we cross into human territory, we'll have approximately 72 hours before the regular patrol routes would detect us, Mela added. Based on their patterns, this gives us enough time to reach the inner boundary of the empty zone. Talia looked around at her assembled team, each brilliant in their field, each with something to prove. I want to be clear about the risks. We're violating multiple council directives. If caught, we face academic expulsion, at minimum, criminal charges at worst. If we're caught by the council, Jarvik corrected. If we're caught by humans, well, no one knows what happens then. A tense silence fell over the briefing room. I've studied every scrap of information about human behavior and psychology, Mela finally said. They're not inherently aggressive. In fact, their diplomatic relations have been remarkably peaceful. Whatever they're hiding, I don't believe they would harm researchers without provocation, unless we're threatening something they're protecting. Sen added quietly. Talia took a deep breath. We depart in 6 hours. Last chance to back out. No one moved. Then let's solve the oldest mystery in the galaxy. The journey to the edge of human space took 11 standard days. They maintained communication silence, running with minimal power to avoid detection. As they approached the boundary, tension aboard the Curiosity reached palpable levels. Crossing into restricted space in 3, 2, 1, Krax announced from the pilot station. Talia held her breath, half expecting alarms, weapons fire, or some dramatic shift. Instead, there was nothing, just the continued silence of space as they drifted past the invisible line that separated the known galaxy from human territory. That was anticlimactic, Sen remarked, not looking up from his sensor array. Good, Jarvik grunted. Boring is safe. They proceeded cautiously, sensors passive to avoid detection. For 2 days, they encountered nothing unusual, just normal space, stars, the occasional asteroid or comet. Nothing that would explain 15,000 years of warnings. On the 3rd day, approaching the inner boundary of the empty zone, their instruments began to malfunction. We're getting unusual readings, Sen reported, frowning at his console. Quantum fluctuations, gravitational anomalies. Nothing dangerous, but definitely not standard. Could it be naturally occurring? Talia asked, moving to look over his shoulder. Possibly, but the pattern is too structured. Sen adjusted his instruments. It's almost like... A sudden alarm cut him off. Jarvik was on his feet instantly, moving to the tactical station. Vessel approaching, bearing 045 Mark 12. It's moving fast. Human? Mila asked, already activating her translation protocols. Configuration unknown. Jarvik replied tensely, but it's definitely not one of ours. The view screen activated, showing a sleek craft approaching their position. Its design was unlike any known species, smooth, almost organic in appearance, with no visible propulsion system. We're being scanned, Krax reported, his skin rippling with nervous patterns. Before anyone could respond, a new voice spoke over their communication system, speaking perfect galactic standard. Unauthorized vessel, you have entered restricted space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. The human patrol had found them. What lies beyond? Power down and prepare to be boarded. The command hung in the air as the crew of the Curiosity exchanged alarmed glances. Jarvik moved to the weapons console, a motion that Talia immediately intercepted. We didn't come here to start a fight, she said firmly. We comply, she announced, to the human vessel. Talia, Jarvik began to protest. We're researchers, not warriors, she cut him off. And we came for answers. The sleek human ship maneuvered alongside them with unsettling precision. Up close, its hull revealed subtle patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid, despite clearly being solid material. As Krax powered down their engines, magnetic clamps engaged with a dull thud that reverberated through the Curiosity's hull. Preparing for atmospheric equalization, an emotionless voice announced, "Please remain stationary." Minutes later, they heard the unmistakable sound of the airlock cycling. Jarvik positioned himself between the door and the rest of the crew, his posture tense and ready. When the inner door finally slid open, they were met not with armed soldiers, but with a single human. The human was tall for their species, with dark skin and close-cropped silver hair that suggested advanced age. Though with humans, it was difficult to tell. They wore a simple gray uniform with no visible weapons or insignia. Most striking were their eyes, dark and alert, scanning each crew member with unsettling intensity. I am Commander Eliana Chen, Earth Containment Division. She introduced herself, her voice matching the one from the communication. You are in violation of Galactic Council Directive 347B, restricting unauthorized entry into sovereign human space. Talia stepped forward. I am Senior Xenoarchaeologist Talia Kresh. We are conducting research vital to understanding galactic history. Commander Chen's expression remained impassive. Your credentials and research focus are known to us, Dr. Kresh, as are those of your companions. Her gaze swept over the others. Dr. Sen Tuvar, controversial xenobiologist. Krax Dorn, engineer with multiple citations for experimental propulsion systems. Former Commander Jarvik, discharged from service after the Proxima incident. And Myleth San, linguistics specialist with unauthorized access to classified council documents. Myla's feathers ruffled in surprise. You've been monitoring us, Jarvik said flatly. We monitor all approaches to our territory, Chen replied. Most turned back at the boundary. The rest. She paused. The rest become necessary conversations. Are we under arrest? Talia asked. A ghost of a smile touched Chen's lips. That depends on your next answers. Why are you here, Dr. Kresh? The truth, please. Talia hesitated only briefly before deciding that honesty was their best option. I've discovered evidence that this region of space was marked as forbidden or dangerous by at least 13 ancient civilizations, dating back 15,000 years, long before humans achieved space travel. I want to know why. Something flickered in Chen's eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or confirmation of a suspicion. And what do you hope to find? Understanding, Talia replied simply. Whatever caused multiple species across millennia to fear this region must be significant, historically, scientifically, maybe existentially. If humans are dealing with something dangerous, perhaps the Council could help. Chen studied her for a long moment, then touched a small device at her wrist. Central, this is Chen. We have a Level 3 cognizant group. 5 individuals, multi-species research team. She paused, listening to a response the others couldn't hear. Understood. Proceeding to outpost threshold. She looked back at the crew. You will remain aboard your vessel as we transport you to a secure facility. You will be given limited access to information that may address your questions. After that, a decision will be made regarding your disposition. That sounds ominously vague, Krax muttered. It's more than we could have hoped for. Talia replied quietly. To Chen, she said, thank you for not simply eliminating us. The commander's expression softened slightly. Contrary to whatever rumors circulate in Council space, we don't destroy vessels for simple boundary violations. Only when necessary. And when is it necessary? Jarvik asked. Chen's gaze met his unflinchingly. When they encounter something they're not prepared to handle, when they become a vector. Before anyone could ask what she meant by vector, Chen turned and exited through the airlock. We depart in 5 minutes. I suggest you secure any loose equipment. After she left, the crew gathered in the command center, speaking in hushed tones despite suspecting their vessel was now monitored. This went better than expected, Sen observed. At least we're still alive. For now, Jarvik countered grimly. Don't mistake procedural courtesy for safety. They're taking us deeper into their territory, to a secure facility. That rarely ends well for the guests. They could have disabled our ship or arrested us immediately, Talia pointed out. Instead, this Commander Chen is offering information, exactly what we came for. I'm more interested in what she meant by vector, Mila said, her analytical mind already working on the puzzle. And this Earth Containment Division. Containment suggests they're holding something in, not keeping others out. The ship shuddered slightly as the human vessel began moving, taking the Curiosity with it. Through the viewports, they watched stars shift as they accelerated to what must have been the human equivalent of FTL travel, though the sensation was oddly different from conventional methods, with none of the usual gravitational stress. Their propulsion technology is unusual, Krax noted, monitoring what few systems remained active. They're not creating a conventional warp bubble. It's almost like they're sliding between points in space. How long until we reach this outpost? Sen asked. At this speed, and assuming it's within the empty zone we identified. Mila calculated quickly. Perhaps 6 hours. Jarvik moved to a storage compartment and retrieved a small device. Then we should prepare. If we're walking into an intelligence facility, we should record everything we can. He handed each of them what appeared to be standard communication pins. Short-range data collection. If we're separated, they'll continue gathering information. Talia raised an eyebrow. You came prepared for espionage. I came prepared for survival, Jarvik corrected. Information is survival. 5 hours and 23 minutes later, they felt the subtle shift as the vessels dropped out of FTL. The view screen activated automatically, displaying their location and drawing gasps from everyone on the bridge. They had emerged near a massive space station orbiting what appeared to be a brown dwarf star. But it wasn't the station itself that caused their reaction. It was what surrounded it. Space itself seemed to ripple and distort, like looking through flowing water. Stars beyond the distortion shifted position, or momentarily vanished, only to reappear in slightly different locations. What are we seeing? Talia whispered, her bioluminescence pulsing with a mixture of fear and wonder. Spatial instability, Krax replied, his voice uncharacteristically subdued, but on a scale that shouldn't be possible without tearing a hole in the universe. The comm system activated. Curiosity. Prepare for docking procedure. Follow all instructions precisely. Any deviation could result in containment failure. The human vessel guided them toward the station with meticulous care, navigating through regions where the distortions seemed less severe. As they approached, they could see that the station itself was built around a massive array of devices that projected energy fields into the surrounding space. They're not just studying the anomalies, Sen realized aloud. They're containing them. The docking procedure was executed with military precision. After another airlock cycle, Commander Chen returned, accompanied by 2 more humans in similar gray uniforms. All 3 wore small devices on their temples, subtle enough to be easily overlooked. "Welcome to Outpost Threshold," Chen said. "Before you disembark, you'll need these." She handed each of them a similar temple device. Reality anchors. They help maintain cognitive stability in areas with spatial distortion. Cognitive stability. Mela questioned, examining the device suspiciously. "Without them, your perception of reality would begin to fragment within minutes of exposure," one of the other humans explained. His name tag identified him as Dr. Reyes. "Your senses would report contradictory information, leading to hallucinations, psychosis, and eventually complete mental collapse." Jarvik's artificial eye whirred as he scanned the device. "No obvious harmful components," he reported reluctantly. "We're not here to harm you," Chen said plainly. "If that were our intention, there are far simpler methods than bringing you to a high-security research facility." One by one, they applied the devices to their temples. Telia felt a momentary tingling sensation as it adhered to her skin, followed by a strange clarity, as if a background noise she hadn't been aware of suddenly ceased. "Follow me," Chen instructed. "Stay close and don't touch anything without explicit permission." The interior of the station was surprisingly austere. Functional corridors with minimal decoration, illuminated by soft blue lighting. What stood out were the numerous monitoring stations, where humans worked intently at displays showing readings from the distortions outside. Occasionally, they passed security checkpoints where armed personnel stood guard, though whether they were protecting against external threats or internal ones remained unclear. After several minutes of walking, they entered what appeared to be a conference room. One wall was a massive viewport overlooking the brown dwarf and the spatial distortions surrounding it. A holographic display occupied the center of the room. "Please be seated." Chen gestured to chairs around the table. "Director Katri will join us shortly to determine how much information you'll be permitted to retain." "Retain?" Sen asked sharply. "What does that mean?" "It means," a new voice interjected as the door opened again, "that depending on your reactions to what you learn here, we may need to adjust your memories before releasing you." The newcomer was an older human with silver hair and warm brown skin, wearing a more elaborate uniform than Chen's. She moved with the careful precision of someone accustomed to authority. "I am Director Anya Katri, Regional Commander of Earth Containment Division, Orion Arm." She took a seat at the head of the table. "You have questions. We may have answers, though not all of them will be comfortable." Talia found her voice first. "Why has this region of space been marked as dangerous for thousands of years, long before humans evolved?" Director Katri nodded, as if approving of the direct approach. "Because the danger predates us by billions of years. We didn't create it. We discovered it, just as many species before us did. The difference is, we chose to stay and contain it, while others fled." She activated the holographic display, which showed a 3-dimensional map of their current region of space. "What you're witnessing here is a phenomenon we call a reality fault line, a place where the membrane between our universe and others has grown dangerously thin." The hologram zoomed in, showing what appeared to be fracture patterns in empty space. The multiverse theory was proven correct when humans first developed primitive FTL travel. Our early vessels encountered anomalies. Ships disappeared. Others returned with crews describing impossible experiences or exhibiting unexplainable alterations to their biology and psychology. "A natural phenomenon?" Sen asked, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. "Partially," Chatri replied. This region contains a unique combination of dark matter densities and quantum fields that create natural weaknesses in the universal membrane. But the real danger lies in what exists on the other side. The hologram shifted again, showing what appeared to be a recording from a research probe. As they watched, space itself seemed to tear open, revealing a swirling void that defied description. Colors that shouldn't exist, geometries that hurt to look at, and momentary glimpses of forms that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. Other universes operate under different physical laws, Chakri explained as the recording continued. Different dimensional constants. When they intrude into our reality, the results range from localized physics failures to complete breakdown of causal relationships. And the entities? Jarvik asked quietly. Chatri's expression grew grave. Some neighboring realities contain beings that can perceive our universe. Some are merely curious. Others are predatory. They perceive our reality as a resource, our existence as a food source, or our physical laws as an irritant to be corrected. The recording showed something massive beginning to emerge from the rift, something with too many angles and shifting dimensions. Before it could fully materialize, energy beams from multiple sources converged on the tear, forcing it closed and causing the entity to retreat. That was a Class 3 intrusion event, successfully contained, Chakri said. We're not always so fortunate. Talia's mind raced, connecting ancient warnings to this modern horror. The civilizations that mark this region as forbidden. They encountered these intrusions. Yes, Chakri confirmed. Based on artifacts we've recovered and our own historical analysis, at least 27 distinct civilizations discovered these fault lines. Most abandoned the region. Some attempted to seal the rifts using technologies available to them, with varying degrees of success. A few worshipped the entities as gods. But humans stayed, Mila observed. Why? What makes your species different? A faint smile touched Chatri's lips. An evolutionary quirk, as it turns out. Human brains are remarkably adaptable to cognitive dissonance, where other species experience immediate psychological break from exposure to reality distortions. Humans can accommodate contradictory perceptions for limited periods. With training and technological assistance, we can operate in proximity to rifts long enough to establish containment protocols. You're saying humans are naturally resistant to the mind-destroying effects of these anomalies? Sen asked, his feathers bristling with scientific excitement. Not resistant, Chen corrected. Adaptable. There's a difference. We still break under prolonged exposure. We just break more slowly. When humanity discovered these fault lines, we recognized the threat they posed to the entire galaxy, Chakri continued. If left unchecked, the rifts would continue to expand, eventually threatening populated systems. We made a choice to establish containment rather than retreat. A noble sacrifice, Talia remarked. Chatri's expression hardened slightly. Not entirely altruistic. The Galactic Council granted us exclusive rights to this territory in exchange for our containment services. We've developed technologies from studying the rifts that advanced our civilization by centuries, and we've established a position of security in galactic politics despite being newcomers. So the Council knows about these rifts? Jarvik asked sharply. The highest levels only, Chakri confirmed. The general population is considered unprepared for such knowledge. Most species lack the psychological framework to process the existence of entities that violate their understanding of reality. Before anyone could respond to this revelation, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. The lighting shifted to a pulsing red, and personnel began moving with urgent purpose outside the conference room. Chen's communication device activated. Commander, Class 4 event developing in Sector 7. Anomalous readings suggest potential breakthrough. Chakri stood immediately. How long until containment? Teams are deploying now, but the fracture pattern is unusual. We need at least 30 minutes to establish a stable field. The director turned to the research team. It seems you'll get to witness our containment protocols firsthand. Stay close to Commander Chen and do exactly as instructed. Your reality anchors should protect you from the immediate effects, but nothing is guaranteed during a Class 4 event. What's a Class 4 event? Krax asked as they hurried from the room, following Chen through corridors now filled with rushing personnel. A major breach, Chen explained tersely. Something large trying to cross over. If containment fails, we'll need to evacuate this entire sector and potentially destabilize the brown dwarf to seal the rift. They were led to an observation room overlooking what appeared to be a massive chamber filled with equipment. Through a reinforced viewport, they could see the space beyond the station, where the distortions had intensified dramatically. A tear was forming in the fabric of reality itself, edges glowing with impossible energies. Anchor teams Alpha through Delta deploy to quadrants as assigned. A calm voice announced over the station's communication system. Prepare for dimensional stabilization sequence. What followed was a display of coordination and technology, unlike anything the research team had ever witnessed. Specialized vessels moved into position around the growing rift, deploying devices that projected intersecting energy fields. Teams of humans in advanced suits operated directly at the edges of the distortion, making adjustments to equipment that seemed to bend and warp under the strain of proximity to the breach. Why risk personnel? Jarvik asked, watching as the human teams worked dangerously close to the rift. Couldn't this be automated? The rifts don't respond consistently to programmed approaches, Chen explained, her attention focused on monitoring displays. They require real-time adjustments based on intuitive assessments that I still can't replicate. Humans are still better at recognizing patterns in chaos. As they watched, the rift expanded suddenly, sending out a pulse of energy that shook the station. Through the growing tear, Talia caught glimpses of something vast and incomprehensible, a shifting mass of geometries and colors that made her feel physically ill despite the reality anchor at her temple. Entity attempting full manifestation, a technician reported urgently. Dimensional variance exceeding containment parameters. Initiate Protocol Omega. Chetri ordered from a command station. All non-essential personnel prepare for emergency displacement. Chen turned to the research team. We need to get you back to your vessel. If containment fails, this station will initiate a controlled quantum collapse to seal the breach. You don't want to be here when that happens. As they rushed back toward the docking bay, alarms increasing in intensity, Talia felt a strange pressure building in her mind, as if something was pushing against her consciousness, seeking entry.